Our next inductee, VernHawkins, he will be presented by my good friend and coach and future tonight Hall of Fame inductee, Andy Wolf.
Hi everybody. Can you hear back there? Okay. It's a real pleasure to introduce VernHawkins for the Hall of Fame. In fact, it's one of the most fun things I imagine I could ever do. You can see from the biography and the program that VernHawkins knows how to produce great track teams and cross-country teams, and you can see that he knows how to train the great individuals to be champions. And believe me, and as a lot of you coaches in the room know, it's a lot harder to train the great ones than the average ones. Every mistake is magnified and the stakes are very high and the expectations are high. Vern is obviously a master coach. And although Vern is as humble as they come, greatness can't hide, even in Georgetown, Ohio. VernHawkins, the high school miler, was enshrined in the Anderson High School Hall of Fame many years ago for his great speed. Vern, the hard-hitting defensive football player, was recently put in the Anderson High School Hall of Fame along with the rest of his 1948 team, which won the city championship. And Anderson was really little then. They won that championship when Harry Truman was the president. It's been a couple years, Vern. Vern is also in the Georgetown High School Hall of Fame, the Brown County Hall of Fame, the Ohio Track Coaches Hall of Fame, Anderson a couple times, and now the Greater Cincinnati Running Hall of Fame. After 6 inductions, he could really be classified as a serial inductee. The big question is, how did it happen? I doubt very much that when Vern started in 1958 with his first team, he said, you know what, I reckon my goal is to be a 6-time Hall of Famer. I'll bet he didn't say that. Great coaches don't start out doing great things. I kind of think great coaches make a habit of doing important and meaningful little things for the kids on their team every day on a consistent basis. And when a team, and then a school, and then the community realizes that their coach is that kind of person, great things start to happen. That's VernHawkins, and great things happened. Now let me tell you, Vern was a tough competitor. Did a little research on him. An old friend told me this about Vern. He was fast and he could run all day. And when his opponents couldn't run anymore, he was so darn strong he could rip their leg off and then beat them into submission with it. Now I doubt Vern ever did that, although a few people back there might have been chased by him. He never went after your leg, did he? Nope. Even when you broke your nose in our steeplechase pit? But that tells you about Vern. He's that kind of a competitor. He was a creative and competitive coach. Way back when Vern had a really good team at Georgetown, and his good friend Dave Moore had an equally good team at the old Hamersville High School, the two teams had a no love-lost relationship and a tough rivalry. Well, the teams were going to make a long ride into the big city for a meet at Lockland. That's a long way from Georgetown. And they got word that Lockland didn't have a high jump pit. Now that's in the days when you had the big mesh bag with the chopped up foam in it. Some of you all remember that stuff. Every high jumper and pole vaulter, would itch from the dry foam, That's how you knew who your jumpers were. Vern got word they didn't have a high jump pit. So he knew that Hamersville was going to the meet in a bus, while their team was only going to go in cars. So he called Dave and said, Dave, why don't you just swing your bus by out here to Georgetown to pick my boys up? And when Dave got there, Vern took Georgetown's high jump pit, tied it to the top of the bus using the tug-of-war ropes from the gym class, And then Vern had a good high jumper and he didn't want to miss the meet. Didn't do anything for, what, 6 points back in those days for winning. Vern said, Dave, you drive the bus and I'll stand in the aisle to keep the boys from fighting until we get to Laughlin. Wouldn't you love to be in Laughlin's parking lot and see that bus pull in with a high jump pit tied to the roof? And to think, and Vern used that to become a driver's ed teacher. And if you've ever ridden with him, even to this day, believe me, he still teaches driver's ed from the back seat. But that's another story. But there is always, and mostly, the caring and mentoring side of VernHawkins. Even for athletes from other teams, even for athletes he didn't really know. In 1967, Vern noticed in the newspapers, back when the Enquirer actually printed track results, that the newspaper, a kid from Anderson was closing in on his school record in a mile run. That kid didn't even know what the record was. One day, Vern checked the Enquirer in the paper for the track results and saw that that kid had broken his mile record in winning the conference meet. Vern sent that kid a telegram to congratulate him and actually inform him that he set the school record. That was at a time when the Western Union man in the little uniform came to the door and knocked and delivered the telegram. And I know that story's true because I got the telegram. He didn't have to do that, and I still have the telegram. But I got to tell you, when the Western Union man was at the door, my mom and I both thought I was getting drafted. Anyway, great coaches don't necessarily set out to be great. But when you do great things every day, great things happen. Let's give a big welcome to VernHawkins, a true Hall of Famer.
Get up there and be humble. Andy told me, and I was going to do it anyway, get up here and be humble. People, you could have knocked me over with a feather when he called me and told me this was going to happen. I was going to be in this Hall of Fame. I said, I never even dreamt that I would be here. Because I did all this coaching and everything because it was fun. You just go out and have a good time. And I'm not going to talk too much. I just want to tell you, the one thing I always told my boys is your mind controls your body. If you think you can do it, you're right. If you don't think you can do it, you're right. And to prove it, I'm not going to say much more after this. I just want to thank everybody for putting me in here. But I had my boys on a workout. It was down in Brown County, and there's some nasty hills. And we had a hill called the Bear. And the whole cross-country team ran up the Bear, and they come back down. And after about 5 times, they're all laying up on the top of the hill. You know, and they can't move. And all of a sudden, here come a groundhog walking across the field. Everybody was up like they hadn't taken a step all day, chasing it. You know, and when it ran, but they were all running. But as soon as it turned around, when it got tired, it wanted to fight, they let it go. But you know, it was just one of those things. Here I am dying, and all of a sudden, hey, look at that. They were right after it. They had a good time. And I said, guys, that's what I've been trying to tell you. Your mind controls your body. You think you're done, and all of a sudden, there. And Bob Ronkert saved me my 4x8 team one time when he called one of our kids that was in 3rd place in a race. I won't tell you where it was. And he said, here comes, you know, the boy. And the kid said, when I heard that, I had a run. He took off and past the other two teams, which are the best two teams in Cincinnati. But and we won the race. But folks, I'm not going to stay up here any longer. I just thank you all for having me here, and I had a great time. It's a great ride at school, and all the running I did it for fun. And we just, when I first grew up in elementary, I lived on 10th and Columbia in Newport, and we had to go to 4th Street School, was down by where the aquarium is, and you had to walk or run down there every day. You didn't have a school bus. It was just, that's no big deal. So that's how I guess I got to learn to run. But folks, Andy is a great man, and I remember I used to have cross-country meets up at Georgetown, and he came up there and won the Invitational one year. He had to run through cornfields and hay fields and everything like it, through the woods, and he was the winner. So folks, that's all I've got to say is thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here. And I know a lot of you people out there. I saw my grandpa over here too, but he knows who he is. And I'll let you guys go from there. Bye. Thank you.
Back in the day, I started coaching at Indian Hill back in '68, '71. Vern, those were when we had those big, the G-men were running, and you coaches that have to struggle with the uniform. All uniforms have to be the standard. Now, Vern, I'm blaming you for this. Vern took his cross-country team to Velveteen. They sold T-shirts. They told him, he said, guys, go in there, and I want each one of you to come out with a different colored shirt. That was his cross-country team. So when he went to a meet, you couldn't tell who was where the Georgetown kids were. So it was like a year or so after that. Tell me, Vern, it's not true. A couple years after that, the National Federation had a uniform rule. I think somebody told on you, Vern.